Let's define this. Let's make it easy. What is private
Sure.
equity, first off?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a fair place to start, right? And it's interesting from my perspective, whether you're reading a Wall Street Journal, a New York Times article, or whether you're talking to a physician in an elevator, people have really strong emotional responses to the words
Mhm.
private equity, even if they have no idea what it means, right? There's a visceral response that occurs, as we like to say. So I do try to demystify it because I've spent 10 years in a private equity backed company in the boardroom from various positions, from president and chief development officer, and eventually for 5 years as CEO. And so I've had a front row seat in the early innings, just like interventional pain management, before it was kind of, the thing that was going around. I was in the early stages of it. So it is what its name implies. Private equity is for investors to invest in privately held companies. So keep in mind that less than 1% of all U.S. companies are publicly traded,
Mm.
right? So what private equity does is they go around and they raise funds, typically in a 10-year increment. And they may raise it from pension funds, like from the Firefighters Union or the Teachers Union of Pennsylvania, or insurance companies, university endowments, the Metropolitan Museum of Wealth, sovereign wealth fund. They raise capital, right? And let's say in the early innings, they might raise 100 million or 50 million. And as they get better than public rates of return, then the next fund, which usually starts around the middle of the previous fund, so at the 5-year mark, they're already raising their next fund. And so depending on the success, if they're able to beat the rates of return, then they're going to raise bigger funds. And so usually, like they can be north of $1 billion fund. And look, let's be clear. There's a lot of financial engineering that goes in the terms of beating market rates. But if you look at the stock market over 100 years, right, maybe it's returned less than 7.4% annual rate of return. Private equity likes to use the term internal rate of return, IRR, in a fund. And the better their IRR, right, the better their next fundraise is going to be. And then they may pick areas to be experts in, whether it's healthcare, whether it's, private equity funds that just does device companies or pharma, or they might,
Yep.
invest in
Yep.
energy or other sectors, right? So what it does is it allows these institutional, endowments and pension plans to get better than 7.4 return. So it's part of a balanced portfolio for these fund managers.